disruptive.
Weird thing to happen.
As the FBI is trying to make this a shut case on the Charlie Kirk assassination, they're trying to wrap it up. They're trying to, close the books. No further questions, no further explanation, no further examination. Kash Patel wants to, come out as a hero for capturing this 22-year-old kid that has not confessed to anything, by the way. He's refusing to testify. He's refusing to acknowledge to the FBI themselves, but apparently they made a done deal. They confirmed that, it was him through text messages, and he was doctrined by lefty ideology. He had a transgender roommate lover. He was turned in by his father. End of story. Don't ask further questions. Don't investigate. That seems like hate speech to you. I kid you not. Anyone that asks further questions could be subjugated to hate speech, according to the Trump administration. That used to be something the left, people complained about the left. People complained about the Biden administration. I complained about when it was the left. But now, these so-called free speech warriors that claim about, how we need to have civilized discussions and conversations, now they're harping the drum on hate speech. So I don't know what the hell is going on, folks. People need to wake the hell up. But there's one thing that we still need to look at, because we have shown you, prior to the unfortunate incident with Charlie Kirk, the interviews, the conversations, the discussions that Charlie Kirk was having on his kind of, his connection to Israel. And I think that's very important. I'm not saying, again, we can't confirm nor deny that Israel played a role into this, but it is very impactful that his final words, his final addresses on his podcast, interviews, Turning Point USA, conversations he had behind closed doors, were highly regarded because of Israel and his connection to Israel. And as he was starting to evolve and question a lot of this foreign country and their involvement with the United States and how they're, trickling down into, legislating, lawmaking, and, restricting free speech and so on and so forth. Charlie Kirk, being a passionate American, not just being a passionate supporter of Israel, but being a passionate American, had a crossroads. Kind of had this moral epiphany to now figure out, is there something up to this? And that's where he started going into detail. But what's even more interesting, so I think we showed this before, but I just want to show it again. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, shortly after the announcement of Charlie Kirk passing away, being gunned down at the university, Benjamin Netanyahu immediately jumped on to X to make this post. And it just, that kind of alone makes me a bit suspicious. I understand that foreign leaders can address their concerns and maybe send thoughts and prayers to the family about, political violence. We saw it here in Canada. You see in the UK, so on and so forth. But he was the first one, the very first foreign leader to jump on to social media and say, oh, I feel bad what happened to Charlie Kirk. And here's his official statement. He says, Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom. A lion-hearted friend of Israel. He fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. Which is, again, kind of ironic considering the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu sent mercenaries to blow up a church, a Christian church in Gaza. I spoke to him only 2 weeks ago and invited him to Israel. Surprised the FBI doesn't bring that up. Surprised the FBI really ignores this subject. And of course, a lot of people want you to ignore the subject. As Candace Owens, as Tucker Carlson, as even Megyn Kelly are starting to, speculate the possibility. Again, I'm not saying that they did it or didn't do it. I'm saying that this needs to be part of the conversation. Because obviously, Benjamin Netanyahu immediately jumping on to social media, immediately jumping onto American media and stating all this stuff about how he feels sad about Charlie Kirk and no, Israel did not do it. Are you crazy? All these people and stuff. No, it's definitely a lefty trans ideology. We didn't even know anything about the suspect at the time. But he's immediately jumping on to American media to speculate his regards of Charlie Kirk and immediately jump to a narrative that, no, it was lefty trans ideology and tied to Islam. We didn't even know who the suspect was. It was still a manhunt. He says, sadly, that visit will not take place. We lost an incredible human being. His boundless pride in America and his valiant belief in free speech will leave a lasting impact. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. So this was the kind of rocking point that people were starting to go into detail about. Okay, something's a bit fishy here. And it gets even more fishier because the more that Benjamin Netanyahu does these videos or goes on to American media or has these tweets, it's not helping his case of innocence. It's like when O.J. Simpson wrote the book If I Did It after being found not guilty of the murder of Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman. It just seems so crazy that if you're an innocent person, why would you go out of your way to continuously go and harp about you being innocent? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. If you are an innocent person and you're not found guilty and there's no evidence to point in your direction, then you just go by your way. You go live your normal life. You wouldn't continuously go onto social media and scream, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, trust me, I'm innocent, it's crazy. So this is a lot. There's so much suspicion of this. And Salty Girl says, Bibi Netanyahu is in panic mode. The Israeli government is attempting to dismiss the allegations of Israel's role in Charlie Kirk's assassination, stating that those making these claims are fueled by Qatari money. My God, how many times have we heard this before? All of you disagree with me. You're funded by Qatar. People like Laura Loomer, who can't do basic journalism, who barely is an investigative researcher, but will spend all of her day criticizing Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and say, oh, they're backed by Qatari money. They're making these harsh statements and these radical points, and they don't have any information. Well, have you watched their shows? You don't have to agree with their conclusions, but hey, they got the receipts to prove their arguments. Where's yours? Where's yours? Where's your investigation on the Charlie Kirk murder? Or are you just going to believe what the FBI tells you? The same FBI that has lied to you, Laura Loomer, and other people. So this is Benjamin Netanyahu once again, after all the times on Fox News, after all the times, going around trying to, put dirt and cover up the suspicion that maybe Israel's connected to this. You tell me if this makes him more innocent or this makes him more suspicious. Take a look.
Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. This is insane. It is false. It is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was a giant.
Again, no one's out there advocating to say that Israel did commit the murder. What people are saying is that prior to his assassination, there was definitely a beef. There was definitely rift between the state of Israel, the donor class, like Bill Ackman and the other billionaires that pledged their allegiance to Turning Point USA, donate to Charlie Kirk's cause and campaign, and Charlie Kirk himself. There was definitely some sort of convulsion happening before the assassination that needs to be investigated, that the FBI purposely is ignoring. which I find it fascinating because, again, we're in 2025. The FBI, the NSA, the CIA, everybody's being monitored. So it's not like the FBI has no information about any of this. People are posting online regularly about Charlie Kirk's final words, about him having this moral epiphany of starting to criticize his connection to Israel and whether his, whether being American and supporting free speech is conflicting with his support with Israel. He was starting to have and evolve his theories about this. And again, the FBI could not care less about it. And here's Benjamin Netanyahu jumping on immediately to try to cover up the suspicions. Oh, we had nothing to do with this. We had nothing to do with this. And of course, if it's not the Holocaust he brings up, he's bringing up Joseph Goebbels. How dare you suspect us? Don't you remember the Nazis? Don't you remember the Holocaust? Don't you remember this? That's nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. That's nothing to do with the investigation. That, again, people that just keep harping on that. And these are the same people that shush and try to silence Holocaust survivors.
A once-in-a-century talent who defended freedom, defended America, defended our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest...
Well, according to reports, he did love Israel. He did love the Jewish people. He did not like you. He did not like you. And the Israeli people don't like you. Just remember, shortly before all this, 500,000 Israelis were protesting against this guy. 500,000 were on the streets in Tel Aviv protesting this guy. People despise him. He's continuing this war because he's a wanted criminal, not by international standards, but also within his own state. He is a wanted criminal and a thug. And now he is making extraordinary amount of time. He's supposed to be in this, catastrophic war with Hamas and all these other countries that he's subsequently bombing. He's making time out of that. Making time out of being in a war zone to tell people that he is not guilty of anything, that he's innocent. How does that not make you suspicious? How does that not make you suspicious? Again, it's like the O.J. Simpson case. Oh, he's not guilty. I'm going to write a book called If I Did It. What? You were just proven non-guilty. Why would you write a book titled If I Did It? It's absolutely crazy. There's more.
Joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security. He told me, the Holy Land is so important to my life, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Now, if Charlie disagreed with a policy of mine or a decision here and there, not only did I not mind, I welcomed it. This is the essence of Charlie. This is the essence of a free country. It's exactly what Charlie stood for. And I knew that...
Come on. As you're trying to relieve yourself and proclaim your innocence. Oh, yeah, we're free speech absolutists. We care about... Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Have you ever had a conversation with a Zionist? Like, I'm not talking about like just the, I'm okay with Israel people. I'm talking about like a deeply set in stone Zionist. Have you ever had a conversation with them where you start to disagree with them? Have you seen the confrontations? I could show you mass amounts of videos of confrontations where a Zionist will deliberately go out of their way. They could be just walking down the street. They will go out of their way if someone's holding a Palestinian flag, even if it's a Jewish rabbi. We've seen those videos before. Jewish rabbis holding the Palestinian flag, denouncing Israel, making their statement, making their claim, not getting violent with anybody, just, off on the street corner, whatever. And a Zionist will walk by and immediately jump onto the Jewish rabbi and scream at them and yell at them and cause a ruckus. These are people that are peacefully protesting. You don't have to agree with what they're saying, but you're going out your way to confront them. You're going out your way to shove them around and scream at them and yell at them, saying, "How dare you? It's awful. It's disgusting." So forgive me if I laugh at that statement that Benjamin Netanyahu cares about free speech. Forgive me. While the Trump administration is actively gauging a war against the First Amendment to protect a foreign country. Forgive me if I laugh at the idea that you care about free speech.
His suggestions always came from the heart, from his love for Israel and from his love for the Jewish people. A few weeks before his death, I spoke to Charlie. I invited him to visit Israel again. And sadly, that won't happen. Now some are peddling these disgusting rumors, perhaps out of obsession, perhaps with Qatari funding. What I do know is this: Charlie Kirk was a great man, and a great man deserves honor, not lies. Rest in
Charlie Kirk was a great man. I had conversations with him. I wanted to invite him to Israel. We have seen the reports that the Gray Zone have put out. We have seen what, Benjamin Netanyahu means when he offers a trip to Israel. Not in the way of like an Expedia all-inclusive resort stay. When he talks about inviting people. It's, again, if you've seen mafia films, if you've seen how mobsters talk to each other, I'm going to invite you to my place. We're going to show you what's what. That's what he's saying here. He was inviting Charlie Kirk to Israel precisely at the time that Charlie Kirk was starting to evolve and start questioning the foreign nation. And that was conflicting for Benjamin Netanyahu because Charlie Kirk is a highly regarded influencer and highly regarded in the youth of America. And considering the youth of America, no one, under, I would say 35, maybe even under 40, has support for Israel at this point. So Charlie Kirk was kind of the last vocal people in that demographic that can maybe try to swing people back to their uncriticized pledge to Israel. So why do you think they were trying to entice him and invite him to Israel? Why do you think he had a meeting with Bill Ackman in the Hamptons? Because of how great he is? Because he's doing just a great job? Oh, I just wanted to invite you for finger sandwiches and tea. It's not a sit down. It's not mobster lingo for, hey, this is how you're going to act. This is how you're going to do it. And if you don't, something's going to happen. We'd hate for something to happen to you. This just seems way too suspicious. And the fact that he is going out of his way. He's supposed to be in a war zone. just like Volodymyr Zelensky. Every time he does news appearances and GQ photo shoots, you're in a war zone. You're supposed to be in the battle of your life. How do you have time to do a photo shoot? How do you have time to go on social media and plead your innocence over and over and over again? Again, if someone was truly innocent and we don't have the paperwork, you just go on your way. Okay, we have no reason to suspect you. By all means, go live your life. But he's going out of his way to keep pledging it and keep bringing this about. And anyone that questions him, oh, we're going to assume they're funded by Qatari. And remember the words of, Joseph Goebbels and the Holocaust and October 7th. We're always the victim here. We're always the victim. We can never question them because they're always the victim, turns out. So here, Ben Shapiro, who we've seen in the last interview with Charlie Kirk, where Charlie Kirk confessed to Ben Shapiro that he has questions about Israel. He didn't believe the mainstream narrative when it came to COVID and other stuff. And Charlie Kirk said, what about Israel? If we didn't believe the mainstream narrative before, why are we expected to believe the mainstream narrative now? And Ben Shapiro was shocked. Ben Shapiro, you could see his eyebrows like, I can't believe you'd say that. And Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, even before that, highlighted that the right wing, cannot have an influential guy like Charlie Kirk. They didn't use his name, but they kind of winked at the fact they can't have someone leading the right wing who is criticizing Israel. And now here's Ben Shapiro also doing the same thing as Benjamin Netanyahu, trying to cover up any suspicion that leads in that direction.
There was literally no evidence presented that he actually was of the right. None. And believe me, there were plenty of people on the far right who hated Charlie. I mean, the Groypers, as I've said before, literally declared a Groyper war on Charlie Kirk.
That's an interesting pause you made right after you said, there's a lot of right-wingers that don't like Charlie Kirk. Mean like you? You mean like Mark Levin? That you had your little conversation before you talked with Charlie Kirk? Yeah, I don't think the right wing should have a leader that criticizes Israel. I don't think that's safe. I don't think that's necessary. I think something needs to be done about that. Again, I'm just pointing out the receipts. I'm not here to say I can't accept nor deny Israel's role in this, but I'm just pointing out all these suspicions that not the FBI clearly is avoiding, that a lot of the mainstream narrative is avoiding, and people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, the reason that they're mentioning this is because there's evidence out there. There's receipts out there. There's documents. There's videos. There's countless evidence kind of in that direction. And if you're going to have a proper investigation on Charlie Kirk, you're going to have to look into this. You're going to have to look into this evidence.
They declared that he wasn't sufficiently radical. It's exactly what I told Bill Maher on Friday night. He said, well, how do we know it's not the Groypers? I said, theoretically, could it be? Because before all of the evidence had come out, theoretically, it's possible. Super unlikely. And you know what I cited as the evidence? The contemporaneous conversations that the shooter had with family calling Charlie Kirk hateful. Because my point was, if you're calling Charlie hateful, that is part of a left-wing matrix of thinking. The Groyper matrix is...
But you just said right-wingers are also hateful at Charlie Kirk. So yeah, it can't always be the one side. I know people like to always pose the left versus right issue. That's not the case here. It was definitely someone that did not want Charlie Kirk to maintain or wanted to silence Charlie Kirk. You're supposing that's had to be left-wing because of what the FBI is detailing as this left-wing lunatic, this 22-year-old. That's what you're supposing. But even in your statement there, you said that Charlie Kirk was hated by the left and the right. So even by your own statement, you're contradicting yourself.
Charlie wasn't hateful enough. He should have been more hateful. He should have been more vile toward the Jews. If only he had been, then they would have liked him. There was literally no evidence presented that he actually was of the right. None.
That's just, again, he's contradicting himself within his own argument. That he just stated that right-wingers didn't like Charlie Kirk the same way the left-wingers didn't like Charlie Kirk. There was hate between both sides. And you made the argument that, it's only a left-wing hatred. If anyone hates Charlie Kirk, it's definitely because it's left-wing, ideology. He just said right-wingers also hated him. And then you also said that, oh, if Charlie Kirk, hated Jewish people more, then, the left wing would definitely be on board with it. Wait a second. Because you and Bibi and all these other people congratulated Charlie Kirk for supporting Jewish people, for congratulating in supporting his support for Israel. So, again, you're making more of a case of trying to hide your guilt than your innocence. If you have nothing to hide, and you're completely innocent, why would you keep harping on this? Why would you keep making videos trying to, pledge your innocence? And even as Candace Owens stated, Benjamin Netanyahu supposedly had a note from Charlie Kirk. And Benjamin Netanyahu was also on a bunch of podcasts recently across the United States. He was on the Nelk Boys. He was on Patrick Bet David's podcast. He was on a bunch of different podcasts, but not Charlie Kirk's. I thought you guys were close friends. I thought you guys, shared a bond. You invited him to Israel. Wouldn't you want to be on his podcast? You said he's a good supporter for the Judeo-Christian, religion. I thought he was supposed to be saving civilization for the Jewish Christian faith. Why would you not want to be on his podcast? All this needs to come into detail. All this needs to be investigated. I'm not saying that they were responsible. I can't accept nor deny what could have happened, but I'm just saying it is very, very suspicious that Benjamin Netanyahu, the very first, foreign dignitary to speak about this, very first person to come out and say, oh my God, what a lot. You could have just said, I feel bad for what happened with Charlie Kirk. Political violence is bad. Thoughts and prayers to his family. You could have left it at that. But for you to use this now dead man and use his name to try to frame it as your innocence is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And they're definitely trying to cover up something in this regard. Because again, if you're innocent, you just let it be. Go live your life. You will not come back to the issue and try to, sway more people into your innocence. Again, it's like the O.J. Simpson. If I did it, why would you write a book after they said you were not guilty? Why would you write a book if I did it? And here you can see that Israel is trying to cover up something to this, because immediately, this is September 12th, immediately, they did these 2 murals, which I'll admit, they're pretty extraordinary. Like, don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. It's art. But I do find it very interesting that shortly after this man died, shortly after he was shot at the University in Utah, immediately they worked on these murals. Immediately. And you can see the one there on the left there, the great Charlie Kirk, rest in peace, with Donald Trump hugging Charlie Kirk with the U.S. and Israeli flags. Just seems way too suspicious to ignore. And for the people that are trying to ignore it, for the people that are, pouncing on Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, again, you can have your opinions on them. You don't have to agree with their assumptions. You don't have to agree with their reporting style. You don't have to agree with them. But for everybody to pounce simultaneously with the same rhetoric that, oh, Candace Owens, making hate speech, anti-Semitic, and going against all the Jews because of Charlie Kirk's death. That's not what she's doing. That's not what Tucker Carlson's doing. That's not what Megyn Kelly's doing. That's not what any of us are doing. We are just trying to figure out the before in the previous 48 hours before the assassination, that there was definitely some rift, there was definitely some beef going on there from highly powerful figures, donors that donate to Charlie Kirk's cause, that help fund TPUSA, that there was confrontation between him and Bill Ackman and other predominant people that also support Israel. And the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, of all people, jumped on board immediately when the news came out to denounce that Israel had any part of it, kind of seems odd. Kind of seems very odd. Kind of seems like this. As Gen X Girl points out, posting this for future generations. Yes, we knew. So, remember Bill Clinton? I did not have sexual relations with this woman. But guess what? It was later revealed that that was not the case. And now, Benjamin Netanyahu, we did not kill Charlie Kirk. Well, only time will tell. And if you truly are innocent, why do you keep harping? Why do you keep harping on this? You could just live your normal life. People can have their suspicions, but you would just ignore them. But you harping on this just makes you even more suspected of some sort of guilt. If I did it.